Ollinger calling signals, takes the snap, back to throw, looks left, throws left, caught by Chrebet, at the 10, first down Jets. What a catch by Chrebet. The clock continues to run. Jerry Wilson drove Chrebet down, and he is injured and flat on his back. Chrebet has a concussion history, so this is an issue of deep concern.
Chrebet is magic. And it's complete for the touchdown. Chrebet, the rookie from Boomer. He grew up in Garfield, New Jersey, 10 minutes from Giant Stadium.
But short of a first down, Chrebet was able to work free. What a move by Wayne Chrebet.
Absolutely unbelievable. You're talking about a kid who is just all heart.
Welcome to the Underdog Jets podcast with Wayne Chrebet and Robbie Sabo. Welcome back to the Underdog Jets podcast, Jets fans, episode number 5. It is a Monday, and Wayne Chrebet is here as always. Today we're going to be talking about slot receiver. It's a workmanlike job. It's a tough job. You have to venture over the middle where all the big boys are. You can't have fear. You can't have alligator arms. You can't have any of that in your head. You just have to get the job done. And that's what number 80 did. So we'll talk about slot receivers, the Jets' current situation with slot receivers, the greatest of all time, whether or not Wayne Chrebet is the godfather of slot receivers. We'll see what he has to say. And we'll also talk about retiring from football, the pains that come from it, the joys and the pains, and especially when it happens suddenly, via injury. Wayne, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Robbie. Great to be doing episode 5 with you. And like you said, part of the conversation tonight is going to be great. Talking about the slot receivers and the history of it and, where I belong with that. And like I said, the second part, a little more serious, talking about, players retiring and what it was like for me, going through that. So we'll get into that, but definitely looking forward to tonight's episode.
Same here. Slot receivers, we'll start there. Jets, they haven't, I was at practice recently, one of the OTAs, and they have a lot of slot type guys, to be honest, more than I thought, especially in terms of depth. Obviously at the top, there's Crowder, there's Elijah Moore, there's Braxton Berrios, who's standing out right now at OTAs. I know there's a lot of injuries, not a lot of no-shows, but Crowder's not there right now. So they're pretty good there right now. In terms of all time, I would call you the godfather because, yes, there were slot receivers before you, but you were playing when the league started turning into an 11 personnel type league. From your start in 95 through 2005, the league drastically changed from pro personnel, 21 personnel to 11 personnel. So greatest of all time. Who are some of the guys that you enjoyed watching operate from the slot?
Some of the guys were inside and out. One guy I loved to watch was Tim Brown. Always watching him run his routes and stuff like that. And there was guys, before me, like Ernest Givens, guys like that. And another guy who I loved to watch and definitely admire was Andre Reed. So I got a chance to watch him twice a year, when he was in the league. Just a tough guy. Take the hits, run down the middle. As far as being the godfather, that was just great to hear Edelman and Amendola say that to me because I was humbled and I have as much respect for them as they had for me. But it wasn't really a thing. It wasn't really a thing when I came in the league and just kind of took it, and the whole third down, receiver thing. People are like, "Oh, you're a third down receiver, third down specialist," and it bothered me because I make catches on first and second down. And then my dad's like, why, what does that bother you? I said, you know what? if they're going to call me third down specialist, I'm going to be the best there ever was. And that's why that's kind of the mindset I took, that I'm just going to focus on this and make as many plays as possible. Because that's the thing. When the fans think you're punting and it's 3 and out, and then you get the first down, and then you get the first down. I mean, that's just what attracted fans to me, just continuing drives like that.
Right. And for the fans listening to this podcast, how did that Godfather thing come around with Edelman and Amendola?
Oh, I just was in touch with Amendola about some stuff. And I said, if you're ever in town, look me up. And he said, I'm coming to New York City. So I said, all right, I'll take you to get some good Italian food in New York City. He said, do you mind if I bring Edelman? I said, great. So they both came and we had a long dinner, and they were saying, we don't call you Wayne, we call you the Godfather slot. And I was like, wow, that's pretty funny. That's pretty cool. And then we even took a picture outside afterwards, and Amendola said, across the middle till we die. That was the post, and said #Godfather. And actually people were offended by it that I posted a picture of me with 2 Patriots. I'm like, dude, I'm like, relax. I'm like, I could be friends with guys from other teams, so people loved it. And, it was a great night, and to be considered one of their favorites is definitely an honor.
Yeah, that Patriot stuff's always going to be there, right?
Yeah.
But, between football players, the respect is also going to always be there, because you know how hard it is. And in terms of all time, I kind of think of Charlie Joyner as the first guy who really did it on a regular basis with the Chargers, because that offensive scheme and everything they were doing. Al Davis obviously really started the slot look in the 70s, but the Chargers really expanded it. So Charlie Joyner, and then Jerry Rice. I mean, even though it wasn't 3 receivers a lot for the Niners, he operated out of the slot a lot. So you don't talk about Rice in the slot, but he was an excellent slot receiver.
Yeah, he can do it all, inside and out, didn't matter. And then to put him in the slot and then John Taylor outside, I mean, who pick your poison. Who are you going to get beat by? You know what I mean? And actually, it got to the point where teams are drafting slot receivers, but they're drafting slot nickelbacks, to cover the slot. I remember Ted Cottrell came in as our defense coordinator, and he said that he drafted Antoine Winfield to cover me twice a year in the slot, just for that purpose. And I think receiver, maybe McDuffie, whatever, on the Dolphins to cover those guys. And now it's a specific thing that coaches are looking for, specific talent.
Yes, it's because 11 personnel, 3 receivers has become the true base in the NFL.
Yeah.
We talk offensively with Crowder and Moore, but defensively, there's a battle going on in camp with Michael Carter II, who made some plays on Wednesday. He made some plays at OTAs, picked off a Zach Wilson pass that was deflected in the end zone. So he's getting some looks. So these guys, Guidry too, these guys have to have a specific skill set. You got to be quick with your feet, with your hips. It's very tough operating from the inside. About a year ago, I did a article outlining some of the greatest slot receivers of all time. I'm just going to throw some names out there and then see what you think about the guy. You mentioned Tim Brown already. Tim Brown, Notre Dame. He was excellent. He could do it all too, like Rice, which is amazing that they were later in their careers, but they were both on the same team facing you guys.
Yeah, that was tough, but it was for a historian of the game like myself. It was pretty fun to watching them interact out there and make plays like this back and forth, one after another.
How about, because I know you were a Largent fan and a Rice fan. That's why you picked 80.
Yeah.
Have you ever talked to Rice? Did you ever seek him out after a game?
No, I don't think I don't. You know what? I did. What was it? Oh, it was a game show where I did with him, actually.
It was a
and
game
I met
show.
him. It was what's the one with the briefcases? With Howie Mandel.
Deal or No Deal?
Yeah, I did that with him. I did that with like all these Hall of Famers, and I was like, "Why do you want me?" They're like, "I don't know. They asked for you." It was like Woodson and like Marshall and like.
Come on, The Godfather doesn't say that. The Godfather doesn't say, "Why do you want
I
me?"
felt so out of place, but they're so welcoming to me. It was awesome. It was an awesome thing to do. But I just kind of stay out of the way and don't bother nobody. But those guys it's nice because sometimes you meet your heroes and you're let down. But these guys that I met, I was like, wow, these are just great guys, great players, and they're just fun to be around.
Deal or no deal? I'm trying to do some quick research on the fly, folks, but
I've never seen the episode.
I wonder if it aired.
I have a picture of us on like the side. I don't know if I've ever posted it.
We'll have to.
I think I posted it and wrote like, "What doesn't belong here?" It was me.
I found it. And you know what? For the obviously listen, if you guys are listening on audio, search it on Twitter. I'll retweet it. I'll try to get Wayne to retweet it.
What'd you find?
It's the picture from your account. Marshall Falk, Jerry Rice, Marcus Allen, and for the people on YouTube, you'll see it. Dickerson, Cordell Stewart.
Right.
Then there's you, Rod Woodson, and Terrell Davis.
Yeah. Which one doesn't belong there?
But you're the Godfather.
I know, man. But I was thankful to be there. Like I said, I just minded my own business and kind of laughed at everybody and try not to talk too much.
Yeah, that's a pretty good picture. So Rice was a good guy, right?
Yeah, they're all tremendous guys.
So Tim Brown, getting back to slot, Tim Brown, Jerry Rice. I mean, Rice, I actually tried to rank these guys, and I mentioned Rice, but since he did it all, since he was great, I didn't want to include him in the ranking. Wanted to keep it specific slot. Hines Ward, he was definitely specific slot, and talking about crack back blocks like we did the last episode, he might be the greatest blocking receiver of all time.
Yeah, he's tough. You know what's crazy though? If he played today, he would get penalized because you can't blindside, come from outside in. You can't blind. So his game wouldn't translate to today, which would be a shame because he was a hell of a player, hell of a blocker, and he wasn't even a receiver in college. I think he was a quarterback. Yep,
he started at quarterback.
Yeah, he's a tremendous player. I love watching him.
Yeah, Ward was, and he coached with the Jets too recently. I forgot where he went, to be honest, but he's trying to put his hand in there as a coach.
Yeah, I saw him at training camp. It was last year or the year before, talking to him a little bit. Nice guy.
Yeah. Next guy on the list, Andre Rison.
Yeah.
Interesting one.
Bad Moon Rising. Yeah.
Bad Moon Rising. Chris Berman, the Chris Berman nicknames. I think you were Wayne Alex Trebek.
Yeah, that was me. So I'm glad to get a nickname. But he was something special too. Shifty guy, small shifty guy. He made a lot of plays in that offense. But just not a guy that people remember, but certainly one of the top ones.
And something that kickstarted this new thing, slot receiver, was the run and shoot, where he played in Atlanta and they ran 4 receivers every play. So that kind of helped start this conversation.
And the guys from Houston too ran the same thing with Warren Moon. Those guys, there was another guy on the opposite side of Ernest Givens. Not sure which guy was, but they had some great years. Jefferson,
who was on that team? I forget, but yeah, I think Givens is on this list too.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look. So Andre Rison, Andre Reed too.
Yeah, he's like I said, I admire him, wanting to play like him, tough guy, out there, no sleeves, just my kind of guy. And I got a chance to do a camp with him, I think, something like that. And I just told him how much I appreciated his play, and it was great.
Kutztown too, D2 kids, D2 making it big. Julian Edelman.
Bruce Harper went there too, I believe.
Did Bruce Harper go to Kutztown?
Yeah.
Wow. Kutztown, they've produced some guys in the NFL. Yeah. Julian Edelman's on the list. I had him at number 5. Edelman, Wes Welker, who's obviously on the list later. Edelman kind of just showed up out of nowhere, another quarterback. And that's another trend. Quarterbacks turn into slot receivers. He kind of showed up when Welker, and you knew he was being groomed to replace Welker. And eventually, once Welker moved on to Denver, it happened.
Here's the thing about being a slot receiver. When you come in as a third receiver, sometimes you're playing fullback, sometimes you're playing tight end. So you're not only playing a receiver, you need to know the responsibilities of a tight end, that if two guys blitz, you have a hot route. If this happens here, you got to know, what everybody's doing. And generally, quarterbacks can read defenses. So it helps guys like a Hines Ward and guys like Julian, who used to be college quarterbacks, figure out the scheme and what everybody's trying to do to them.
Yeah, it's a very versatile position, which is why you see, to your point, a lot of quarterbacks take on that role.
Right.
So yeah, Drew Hill might have been the guy you were thinking about at Houston. They had Haywood Jefferson, Drew Hill, big time receivers in the run and shoot.
Yeah.
Which leads us to Ernest Givens, who's the next guy.
Yeah, like I said, that whole crew. That was if you go back, I don't know statistically probably, but that was probably one of the best 4 receivers that a team has had. I've been a part of some good ones. I had 2-3 guys, but to have 4th guy like that, it's tough to stop, especially with a quarterback like Warren Moon.
I think it was Givens who did that touchdown dance too, where I forget what it was called, but something electric, where he moved his whole body. It was an impossible dance. Charlie Joyner, number 3. Air Coryell really started the whole thing with Dan Fouts putting up absurd numbers, breaking Namath's 4,000-yard record, which we spoke about in the previous episode. So this is the way I look at it. Charlie Joyner started the party, and that's why I put him at number 3.
Gotcha.
Number 2, Wes Welker. Now, Welker, he put up incredible statistics opposite Randy Moss with Brady, but that's pretty much the entire list. Welker, Joyner, Givens, and Edelman are probably the top 5 if you're excluding the Jerry Rices, the Tim Browns, who pretty much did it all.
If you think about, if someone asks you slot receivers, those are specific names that you would think of. Like you said, you wouldn't think of Jerry and Tim and Andre, even though they did it too. But like I said, just to be considered in that group, is definitely an honor. And like I said, I accepted that role. Like I said, if I was going to be that, I want to be the best there ever was. And hopefully I showed, I could be close to the top.
One guy I missed, Victor Cruz too. We could touch on him. He really was a hell of a slot player as well.
Yeah. He didn't have as long as a career, but when he came in, he kind of took the league by storm, and he had his dancing when he scored and stuff like that. But, I think he's definitely one of the most beloved New York Giant players there's been. Yeah.
Jets fans have a tough taste with Victor Cruz because of the 2011 season, where he went 99 yards and really turned the fortunes of both franchises.
Right. He made some good plays. Like I said, he kind of took my storm. He wasn't as on the radar as some of the other guys they had on the team, but he had a hell of a career.
And interesting, like you said on the first or second podcast, when you came in with Kotite, it was 2 receivers. It didn't really start until I would say, Parcells, sure, he ran 3 receivers with Dedrick Ward, so it probably started in the Parcells era.
The second year we were there, Key came in, Jeff Graham got signed, Webster got signed, and then Alex. So I actually don't think I started in the beginning, but we went 3 receiver sets and I was in. Gotcha. And I actually had 80 something catches just coming in as the third receiver. So that year was, but then when, the Parcells came in, then we really took off and specialized in 3-4 receiver sets.
Did Dedrick Ward play slot sometimes too? Or was it mainly you in those early days?
Nah, Dedrick was outside.
He was outside all the time?
Yeah. I was the only guy in the slot.
Gotcha. So Dedrick, you, Keyshawn, and then when Keyshawn left, Coles.
And they would put Richie Anderson in the slot sometimes, or tight end in the slot.
Gotcha. And next topic, we'll close on this. Retiring, transitioning from slot to the topic of retirement is a apt one because, it's tough. It's tough playing the slot, going over the middle, facing those Ray Lewises, Zach Thomases. Wayne, you retired in 2005. Everyone, if you're a real Jets fan, you remember the play. I was actually in the stadium that day, sitting. I think, I only got to 1 or 2 games a year living in Northeast PA, but those are the worst. It was funny. Those are the worst seats I ever had at Giant Stadium. I think they were literally the last row in the corner of the end zone, but I remember it. I remember when it happened. Retirement. A lot of guys struggle with retirement, especially if it happens suddenly. How were you in 2005 when it all went down?
Like I said, I don't talk about it. And when you asked what we wanted to talk about today, I said, what? There's a lot of stuff going on right now in the league and in the sports world dealing with depression, mental illness, and stuff like that. Here's the situation. When you've played a game that you love your whole life and you've done it for a living and someday, it's going to end, and sometimes you're like, it'll never end. And then you're forced to retire, and you're not ready for it. That's the worst feeling in the world. Like some people say, this is going to be my last year. It'll be a farewell tour and this and that. And then, or they, they're happy about it. They had a good career. Mine ended so suddenly. I got knocked out. And when my head hit the ground, it was like if you spark two rocks together. I saw white. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear Lavernius. I could hear the trainer. And next thing I know, I'm in the car. My wife said I was holding my baby, just saying, did I get the first down? Did I catch it? Did I get the first down the whole way home? So I woke up the next day and I was like, what happened? She showed me. And I was like, you get emotional. I was like, what's that mean? It's like, you're done. I was like, that's it.
Did you watch the play immediately or did you wait?
I saw it the next morning. And like I said, they said, doctors don't want to take responsibility for, brain damage. And I understood it, but it sucked.
Did they, so it was an immediate thing. Like they told you right away.
They said they retired me before I even left the stadium.
Gotcha.
So, this happens and I never went back to the complex. I was dealing with, the headaches and the concussion effects and retiring at the same time. So emotionally, I was a wreck. I stayed in my basement. I didn't come out. I didn't want to be around. I had a young kid who was, baby was crying. Couldn't deal with that. Couldn't deal with light. And just the depression that set in. It took me probably a year to really get back to feeling normal and not having like that underwater feeling. If you're ever underwater, you get that feeling like it's cloudy. Mm-hmm. But they retired me before I left, and I never went back to the complex at the end of the year. They actually boxed up my locker and shipped it to me, and I never went back because I couldn't deal with having to retire.
I mean, I can understand you being depressed, but you're probably angry too at the same time, right? Because it's one thing to feel like crap with the injury, but it's another to have it feel like it got just ripped away from you. Yeah.
I mean, mentally I was in no place to feel anything. I was just so numb, but my wife's like, you can't do this to us. I was like, I understand.
Now, previously, prior to that game, were you aware of the risks? Did you know them? Did you not care? I mean, obviously you care about your family. There's no question about that.
Right.
But was it something that I can imagine is something you were cognizant of, aware of?
Yeah. I told them I'll always get up. Mm-hmm. I said, I'll always get up. And, I told the trainers, if I ever got hurt, do never, ever bring the card out. I will walk off the field no matter what it is. And, I had 13, documented concussions in my career. I had 2 in college. I had 11 documented in the pros, and 3 times I had them back-to-back weeks. So after my 9th year, I was supposed to retire. And, I felt good after the season. I went into year 10, and I just was reborn. The grass was never greener. The sky was never bluer. I just felt so good to be out there. I never want to leave the field. Loved everything about it. So the 11th year was kind of like a bonus. And then, that happened. But, I got 11 years. How can I complain about that? And people say, would you have played differently? Would you have gone out of bounds? Would you have went down? And I say no. With the same, outcome happening, I don't think the fans would have, my teammates would have appreciated me the same way for playing different.
Right. And that's part of the reason you're so beloved. As we started this podcast, I put you right behind Namath, and that's part of the reason. If you're trying to do anything great in life, I kind of think about it this way. There are certain things you have to sacrifice, and you know that you have to sacrifice going in. And when you look at the NFL today, some old school fans get upset at the way the rules are, and you don't want to see it get pushed too far. But at the same time, you understand what they're doing based on some of the things that have happened. Mike Webster of the Steelers, Junior Seau, all of these stories. So from that regard, as time went on and you started hearing about more stories, did you ever think, man, I should have done something differently?
No, listen, CTE is a real thing. I know I have it. There's nothing I could do about it. I just know how I feel. I mean, it's just good days, bad days. Today's a good day. I'm thankful for that. But like I said, I see receivers, they catch the ball, they dive at the defender's legs, at their feet, they go out of bounds. Like I said, it's just something about fighting for an extra inch, fighting for an extra yard, getting the first down, making the block that people appreciated. Maybe I should have done those things. Maybe it would have extended my career. But like I said, maybe it wouldn't have made me as beloved as I was playing any different. And I didn't know how to play any different. Like I said, my game was part courage, part stupidity. I didn't care. I didn't care about getting hurt out there because I felt I could come back from anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't get insurance on my contract. Not everybody does that. The quarterbacks do that. But I felt I can come back from any injury that I ever got. I would rehab from. This is one thing I cannot make my brain any better. There's nothing I could do about it. And it was just time to leave the game.
And for people listening, that mentality, that's a legit mentality that helps athletes get to where they want to get, and not just athletes in any profession. If you sacrifice, and it's a legit mentality. And some people would argue it's not a choice either. Some people just play that way and they do it that way 100%. And some others just don't know how to do it that way. So I guess I kind of relate from, or explain it and relate from that end. And interestingly, in that last play too, 3rd down, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. 3rd and 5, I got 6.
Yeah. Bollinger. I think
Fitting.
Bollinger was the quarterback, right?
You know what? It was up and away. And when I caught it, his hand was like under my thing. So when I landed, it was all his weight on me and my head just bounced.
Right.
But you know what? To go into today's, that's why it's so exciting to have Coach Saleh come out and say all gas, no brakes, because that's exactly how you need to play.
It gets you going again.
It gets you going. When I hear stuff like that, that's how you have to play. You know what I mean? To make your mark, to win the games, to win the championships. Guys, everybody has to play like that. You can't have guys that are half-assing it, because that's when you get hurt. I always told my sons, if you don't know what you're doing, don't play. Because if you play half speed, that's when you get hurt.
Yes.
Play full speed, balls to the wall, every play you can, like it's your last.
True. And I guess one last question, touching back on the retirement. How long, that first, you said it was rough at first, but was there anything that allowed you to break out of it as time went on?
You know what? At just some point, I was like, it's just time. It's just time to get out of the basement, to start living my life again. And my wife felt the same way. It just got to a point. I mean, she was amazing, you know. And she's just like, you gotta get on with your life. And I was like, all right, I'm ready.
Yeah, filling that void. I mean, like I said, the injury is one thing, but compounding it with, not your identity. It's your identity.
Nothing can replace that. I'm Wayne Chrebet, the dad, the husband, but the other, you can't replace that feeling of, that euphoria of, playing and scoring touchdowns in front of millions of people and all that stuff. There's nothing, except, the birth of your child and your wedding, there's nothing else that can compare to that.
Yeah. And it's the control too. When you go balls to the wall, you're in control.
Right.
And not being in control anymore has probably got to be the toughest thing.
Yeah. But like I said, I got 11 years that I wasn't supposed to get. So how could I complain about that? I can't complain about anything, man.
No, if you were to tell that story to Harry, was it the security guard?
Yeah.
On day one, if you were to tell that story or he would have told you that story, you would not have believed him, right?
No, like I took it year by year. And like I said, I got to 11. And when people ask me, how long did you play for? 5, 6 years? I was like, no, I got 11 years. Like, really? I'm like, yeah, I got 11 years out of it. What's the average career? It's like 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So to make it, 3 times that was a great feeling.
Yes, sir. And Jets fans, thank you for it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I'm thankful too. And that's, the part of the reason that I'm doing the podcast, just to interact with the fans again. I miss the fans. Terrible not being able to go to games this year and see the fans and go in the green room and on the field before the games and have a catch with the kids and all that stuff. So hopefully we're back to normal this year because I miss my Jets football.
I talked to Connie Carberg.
Connie.
Yep, Connie, who shares a birthday with Namath. Actually, I didn't know that. And I interviewed her last summer, right before the season started, and she knew, and we all knew that there wouldn't be any fans. And her one quote that really stood out was, "I know Jets fans will get through this because next year will be that much sweeter." So when it was her birthday Monday, I shared the article with her, and here we are. And it looks like we're going to be full capacity for this season. Yeah.
Oh man, I wish for nothing more to that than get back in the stadium.
It's right around the corner, folks. OTAs now, mini camp. Then you got a month to wait before it really ramps up again with training camp, and we will both be here.
Yeah. Like you said, there's lots to talk about. Today was a little depressing, but reminiscing about it is fun. Talking about the slot receivers is fun. But I just want people to understand, what athletes can go through. And there's people, business world, teachers, all different kind of, occupations that go through depression. And I understand that. But the whole point was just making people, understand that, when the game ends that sudden for you, it's tough. It's tough to handle. And like I said, it got to the point after like a year, I just was like, I got to man up and just started looking at things a little different and appreciated everything I had. And, that's like I said, just to let people know, where I'm at. I'm happy. I'm happy to be doing this. Love life and love my Jets.
And, it's not like changing jobs, like a regular job where you're a salesman at one job and then you're a salesman at another job. Yes, that's a different thing in life. But for a professional athlete, you are in the spotlight. So you have people looking in on you. And then suddenly when you're by yourself, it's that much different. And that's it's kind of an unknown. And that's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah. They asked me, on an interview after I retire, what are you looking to do now? I said, I'm looking for another dare to be great situation. So after 2 years of being retired, I actually went to become a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. And I studied for half a year and passed my Series 7, got my Series 7 license, got my other licenses, and was actually, a financial advisor for 10 years. I worked for Morgan Stanley for 5 years, Barclays, Stifel. So, I loved that for the time I did it. I had fun with that, but I'm not going to stop. I'm always going to look for something to bring excitement and, gets the best out of me.
Hear that, Jets fans? Wayne wants excitement. He needs a challenge. So the questions you send in, challenge him, because I promise you we're going to be doing a lot of cool things moving forward. A lot of cool things. So Wayne, any final thoughts?
No, again, thanks for tuning in. Looking forward to some future shows. And if you get a chance, go back and listen to the first couple episodes. They're great, and hopefully more to come.
All right, Wayne, thanks for being with me. And Jets fans, episode 5 of the Underdog Jets podcast is in the books. Until next time.